Hey folks, happy Thursday or Friday if you're in Australia. So excited about this one. I think you guys know him. His name is Jimmy Blakeney and really just well known in the industry. Great stories to tell because he's been with the same company for 10 years. That doesn't happen very often in the stand-up paddle world. Celebrating a big anniversary coming up. He is on the East Coast, and we'll find out. I don't know where he's actually originally from. But excited to talk to Jimmy from BIC, now TAHE. That's a whole nother part of what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to call him on right now because we have much to be discussed. Jimmy, you there? Sorry about the slight delay. Hey, it worked.
Hello.
Hello. The miracles of technology, huh? I'm always wondering. Oh, love your background. Look at that ukulele. You going to play a little bit for us today?
No, it's my son. He's the one that plays. I just make myself look bad when I try to play.
Oh, it's all good and fun. Well, you have many other talents. I mean, a true waterman. So a lot of people know you from your background and your various skills, but you're best known in the industry as someone who's been with the same company for a long time, like almost as long as stand-up has been around. Just a little bit longer.
It was 2010, and I'd come in. Basically, Chris Serbo, who's my boss here in the U.S., he was looking for somebody who had a background in board sports and in paddle sports, and so he had kind of inquired around and found my previous boss, Kelly Woolsey. And I was like, oh, you talked to Jimmy. He's living in New England now. And so it kind of, that's kind of how it came about. And I had recently moved to New England from Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah.
So is that where you're originally from? Grew up there?
Yeah. I grew up in Virginia, in high school in Northern Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C. So it's actually where the Potomac River is, but I didn't know it at the time, which is an incredible whitewater river.
Yeah, I heard that's a great place to paddle. It's
a great place to paddle for a whitewater kayak and for stand-up. There's some really good stand-up paddle waves there, rapids to run, super fun. There's a cool little community there. Greg Miller on the water there, I know, and a bunch of other folks that are based there that have a really cool scene for sup surf and even just prone surfing as well on the river waves.
Very fun. So let's back up on you. So you have been involved. They did find somebody who paddle sports, wind sports also, right? I mean, give us your water background, not the wind.
Not wind sports. Nope, that's definitely not. I would never claim to be any sort of expert in it. I've become, it's kind of, absorbed.
Played with it a little.
And I've learned to windsurf, and I can do it, but I would never consider myself an expert. But Chris Serbo, my boss here in the U.S. For Tahe Outdoors, he's an expert windsurfer, and we have a whole crew of folks on the team that are. So I feel like we've got that pretty covered. But for me, it's sports and paddle sports.
Well, that picture that we used in promoting this chat of you on a wave is epic. That's huge. So surfing is definitely one of those board sports.
Yeah, surfing is I love it.
Is that the first love, or what did you do first? Kayaking?
No, skateboarding. It's funny you say that. Skateboarding is my first love for sure. I still skate.
I didn't know that.
Still go to the skate park and skate, and that definitely was the first one. But surfing is much more friendly on the body when you're 48, 49. So being in the waters, it's great. And combining something that I've done since I was a kid on land and being able to do it in the water as a water sport, surfing is great. But that wave was in Tahiti on a trip we did a few years back. And that was a magical day for sure. That was amazing.
Yeah. Well, congrats on that wave. So paddling side, what was the first paddling craft you were in?
For paddling, it really was it came from a friend of mine who was a skater and a snowboarder, and he had a kayak. He bought a kayak, Chris Emery, and he was like, hey, you want to try this? And I was like, Sure. So we went down to the water and tried it out. And I got in the boat and swam out of it and everything else and got scared. But I was like, ah, this is pretty cool. So the kayaking is really just was straight into kayaking for me. But I was involved in, I guess, being around rivers a lot with my dad because we would go fly fishing all the time growing up. Fly fishing for him, for my dad, was kind of like, skating, snowboarding, surfing, paddleboarding for me. So I was just along for the ride with him, but absorbed a lot of that and absorbed a lot of the reading the river currents and understanding how the water worked. So that really was cool because I was able to apply that later when it came to whitewater.
Absolutely. So whitewater, first in a kayak, done it in stand up too?
First in a kayak. I didn't. I got into. My first paddleboard ever was a whitewater. Was for whitewater. I basically got it because here in Rhode Island, where I live now, there's not really a lot of whitewater, but there's some nice, easy whitewater. There's some class one, class two that, on a paddleboard, it becomes interesting, because everything on a paddleboard when in whitewater, you go up one or two classes in difficulty. So class two is class three, so yeah, so I just got it to play around in the whitewater when I was wanting to go back to that, because around here there's just not much on offer, even though I'm 5 minutes from lots of good waves. And in fact, this morning we had really good waves. So
Did you get to go?
I did first thing in the morning. Yep. First thing this morning, I shoveled 8 inches of snow off my car and went and surfed. And yeah, I try to go every day we have waves. If I can find a little window, even just like an hour to get in the water, because it's so close here, I can get in the water.
That's fantastic. Well, I don't think I have heard anyone that their first SUP board was a riverboard, but I haven't interviewed a lot of Colorado people. They might have started on rivers too. So that is awesome. And that's something new I didn't know about you. But in the industry, it's so wonderful to find people who are actually familiar with water, addicted to water, use the things that they're selling. So I just think that's been so valuable. And I'm sure a part of why you've had such a long run with BIC. And so interesting, you said that your anniversary is the same. It's a huge anniversary for your company. There's a big transition going on. So you want to kind of introduce what's happening?
Yeah, definitely. It is a really big transition. I mean, I'll go into the story if you'd like. I mean, I think a lot of people may not be aware of the full story. I'll just kind of talk about it a little bit. But, BIC Sport was founded by the BIC family of BIC pen fame. And, it was founded in 1979 because they were all passionate about water sports, right? They saw windsurfing as the bicycle of the sea. That's what they called it. And wanted to allow more people to have access to water sports. So that's kind of how BIC Sport started. So full circle, 40 years later, BIC, the company, which up until just a few years ago, we were part of the group, part of this, there was the shaver division, the lighter division, all the consumer products. And then it was this water sport division. And we were this little, weird side division that they didn't really understand, but it had always been there because it had been a legacy of the family. Well, I think finally the way I explain it is that the family was finally like, why are we still involved in this? Why don't we let people that maybe know more about this run the water sports side? So they spun us off to a company called Tahe Outdoors. So that's how we moved on from BIC. And we've been in this transition now for a little while, still operating and using the BIC Sport name, but that is coming to a firm end here January 1st. So that there will be no more BIC products. We have a couple products right now on the website that are still available. It's kind of like the last items really that'll be available under the BIC name. And then it's fully transitioned to Tahe. And we have, a full line for 2021, like our inaugural range under the Tahe brand.
Oh, cool. And well, we'll want to hear some more about that in a minute, but that's amazing. I mean, BIC had a great run, but I didn't know that news that it was completely changing over to Tahe. So that's big stuff. And that will hopefully get to be a huge name in our stand-up paddle world. And I know you go into other water sports too, but that's kind of my focus. And I love hearing about what's happening with that. So, yeah, 79. BIC's been around that long. And that is really interesting because a lot of, the lighter and the pen and all that, I think a lot of people didn't know that it was part of a family. And I didn't know that they had a water sport thing. That's awesome. That started from
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. For
Um,
that story over the my whole 10 years with BIC, we were doing our best to tell that story with a very small budget compared to the BIC, more global budget for them. So we were always trying to tell the story, but yeah, it's very difficult to get that word out. And to be honest, the BIC name always had really good recognition, and that was a good thing. But it also had some baggage with people just kind of being like, "Well, is this a pin and lighter company or is this a water sports company? What's the deal? Why are they making water sports?" So yeah, it was had its own challenges. And now with TAHE, we're in a different place where we're kind of getting to build this brand from scratch, even though it has this legacy of both BIC Sport and TAHE Outdoors, which is another story I can explain. But we're kind of blending these two brands together to form TAHE.
Wonderful. And you are on the East Coast, and Chris DeCerbo still there. But Tahe, is that a European? Like, where's the base of Tahe?
Yeah, so TAHE Outdoors is based in Estonia, and
Oh, cool.
and the TAHE brand is really known as kind of an expedition brand for sea kayaking. So it has this cool kind of craftsmanship, expedition, legacy. And that legacy is definitely a part of what's being kind of brought in to create the TAHE brand.
Oh, that's very cool. Very cool. So let's talk about 2021 and the range and kind of what this Tahe brand is it going to look like BIC, or is there going to be a big change? Because it sounds like it comes from a real different, like you said, culture and place with the expedition feel.
Well, it's, so I say that, we've got the BIC Sport DNA, which is really a board sports, water sports company and paddle sports. And then you've got the TAHE Outdoors DNA, which is exploratory craftsman style product. And we blended those into what's a completely new brand, really, and the TAHE brand, which it's just TAHE, TAHE, that's the full brand name. It's not TAHE Outdoors. That's the
Oh,
company.
okay.
So
Got it.
TAHE is the new brand. And you can check it out at tahesport.com. So that's the website. So if you check out tahesport.com right now, you'll see, you can go look at our new catalog. You can read about the story, and which is what I'm talking about now. But essentially, the tagline for the brand is endless playtime. And it's a little bit of a take off endless summer. And the idea is that, when you get out on the water with family and friends, you kind of get lost in time, right? Like you lose all track of time, and you achieve kind of that endless playtime. And that's really what we're hoping to capture with the brand and help people discover endless playtime on the water with family and friends.
Love that. That is fantastic. Yeah. So have you had a chance to play on some of these toys? Have some favorites?
Well, yeah. So in fact, I designed a couple of our new products that we're launching for 2021, and I'll talk about those in a second. But also, a lot just so everyone knows, a lot of the great products that were BIC Sport products, are still going to be made at the same factory in France. Our Vaughan factory is super unique in the board sport world. We have a really strong sustainability track record in that factory.
Mm-hmm.
Our Ace Tech and Tough Tech boards, as well as our kayaks. So all of that continues with TAHE, and a lot of the molds that we were using for the products are continuing forward. So in some ways, a lot of the change is the branding. To be frank with you, I mean, we have a lot of the kayaks. They're still called this. They still have the same names, and we still have the Cross and the Performer in our SUP range, and they're still coming out of the same mold. Still, zero emissions from the factory. Still recycling everything back into the process. All the great things about it, but now we're under this new TAHE banner.
And I think that's great. I mean, innovation is important, but it's too bad, I think, sometimes that things that are really well loved, you get this board and there's this huge following, and then suddenly it's gone the next year. So keeping with what's working makes sense. And I love the sustainability part now TAHE does. It's fantastic.
very unique. It's really unique in you know, if I talk to all my windsurfing colleagues, they'll harken back to the days of windsurfing, and when windsurfing was really based, the manufacturing base for windsurfing was in Europe. And now we're really the only ones left, right? I mean, like, we're manufacturing still. We do all of our windsurf boards, surfboards, kayaks, paddleboards, of course. So it's all still made at our factory in Vaughan. So I love that about the company. I'm proud of that. And in addition to that, we do have a couple of new products that I worked on, which I'm obviously super excited about those.
Yeah.
So one of them is called the SUP. And the SUP is essentially a paddleboard and a kayak combo, which honestly, if you just say that, it's like, it's nothing really new. In fact, we had one in 2008, right before I came on board. We had this board called the Jungle, and it was you could sit on it and paddleboard, kayak it, you could stand on it and windsurf it, or you could paddleboard on it. It wasn't well executed, and a lot of the ones on the market, from my perspective, I felt could really be improved. And so what we've done with the SUP is really optimize a paddleboard and kayak so that it's really great for both of these activities. And yeah, there's some really innovative things about it. We have the video explaining it. It's going to be coming out really soon on our YouTube channel. But yeah, it's an optimized SUP and kayak. And it's 100% kayak, 100% paddleboard, and 200% fun.
Love it.
We talked about it. Yeah. And it's definitely recreational. I mean, one thing to be clear for the TAHE brand, the brand is really focused on, you know, entry-level recreation up through kind of the mid-tier. It's not really a premium focus for the brand. Our sister brand, which I know Anthony was on with you recently, SIC Maui. So SIC Maui is like our BMW, and TAHE is like our Honda, if you will. So, you know, that's kind of how we have the brands positioned. So yeah, like this SUP product, a lot of the products in the TAHE range, they aren't really necessarily for, you know, racing or really specialized, but they're for general recreational fun on the water.
But as we know, that's over 90% of the people are looking for recreational fun of one type or another. So that makes a heck of a lot of sense to have something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think more and more, if you look at the trends, people are looking for recreational fun, doing multiple activities versus specializing in one activity. There's a lot of folks in urban areas that want easy access, and sometimes they may not be interested in purchasing equipment, but renting it. So yeah, there's a lot of changes in the industry, and TAHE will definitely be focused on that segment of the market.
Well, on that explore expedition thing, I get just a ton of questions. I think partly this year, you know, you haven't been able to travel perhaps as much, but we have a whole new wave of people who are getting into paddling, and the idea of the adventure, I think something like a SUP would be fantastic for. I have been in a product, something like that, on a 3-day camping trip, and it was epic because it was a lot easier to carry the gear and everything, having the kayak feel to it. You could sit down or stand up, which gave it so much more flexibility on a river. Anyway, yeah. Great. I wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to see that video. We do have a Facebook group, by the way, so if you're willing to share, I'd love to post it in that group afterwards, and I'll definitely put the link to the new TAHE site.
Yeah, for sure. I'll send you a link to the SUP video. We have an overview video, so it's just getting finalized now.
Exciting.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. And then anything else that's new that you designed? I think it sounded like you had another one too.
There is the SUP which comes in a single and a tandem version, and it's inflatable. So that's an inflatable. And, then another inflatable that I worked on, it's called the LP, the low pressure kayak series. We have a 1, 2, and 3 person version of that. And again, it's entry level. You know, the SUP by the way, is $5.99 for a complete package, $6.99 for the tandem version. And then these LP kayaks are, you know, $4.49, $4.99, and $5.49. So, you know, really nice price points. But I will tell you, for me, one nice thing when it comes to product development, from my perspective, is I I like to approach product not from the perspective of, hey, this is going to be a price point product, so make it a price point product, but really paying attention to all the details to make it a really great product. Because in my experience, people that are buying these products, even if we think of them as entry level or price point, you're spending $500, $600. It's still a big hit to a budget, and people want something awesome. And they want great warranty support. They want great support behind the product, and that's that full, complete support behind the product and assurance of the product is something that we're really focused on.
Yeah. Well, we're so lucky. BIC, not TAHE, now TAHE, has been so good at that. I mean, you guys have done R&D. I don't know any company that does a better job at just really researching the market and the people and the needs that are out there. I mean, you and I have crossed paths in different places when you did the One Design, which used to be BIC, but SIC, your racing side, is really kind of taking over that. But I got to be in one of your contests at a Surf Expo, and then ended up at the championships in 2013 in Puerto Rico. Fun stuff. Good memories.
Yeah, didn't you win that one in Puerto Rico?
I did, yes. So I get to claim at 58 I was a national champion.
That's right. Yeah. You know, that's carrying on. We did move the One Design. It's now called One Class for
One
SIC. And so that is living on with SIC. But in the TAHE range, we are still doing the wind foiling. We have a new foil board and a new foil. And we really, the BIC and now TAHE has always supported junior racing and getting kids into the sport. And so, for example, our Techno 293 One Design windsurf board is the junior Olympic board, and it's the largest windsurfing class in the world. And now we have a new foil board that's also going to be representing that same age group. And they just had a recent race on Lake Garda, I think, in Italy, I think it is. It's like incredible watching the kids. They'd never foiled, and they jumped on all the foil boards and were just around racing. It was really cool. I'll put a link to that video as well.
Yeah, kids are amazing. Surfing's the same thing. They kind of pop up on the board and like look at us adults like, why are you finding this so hard?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's so fun. I didn't know that about the junior league thing and everything. Yeah, I think we have so much to learn from other sports, and you guys having been in multiple sports. I was just a recreational windsurfer in the 80s, but I do remember that BIC was part of the whole windsurfing culture, and I just think that's fantastic. Your rich background that BIC, now TAHE, like you said, merging the best of both of those is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I just saw, since I stand up Panama, was just saying how they really like the Sonic for a recreational board. And yeah.
Arturo, have you been down to Panama yet? We need to go down there and visit him.
We do. Yeah, we do.
Looks amazing.
I know they have great paddling, great surfing. So
I got to interview him too. Pacific, Atlantic, river, and lake.
Yep.
In a very small amount of space. You can do that in like 3 days. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd love it. It's definitely on my list. I'd love to go to Panama.
Yeah, you can surf both sides too. Good stuff. Well, that's very exciting about the TAHE line, and that's neat. I mean, again, we've seen different phases. The early adopters, you're still meeting their needs because you have, foils and wings and things for those who always want to try whatever's new. But we know, especially, the next wave aren't always the ones who want the very most, the top equipment and need the BMW and are really thrilled to get a Honda. And the fact, how you describe it, I mean, the fact that you have this like well-researched, you've looked at the details, but still is it like you said, it's still a lot of money, but it's a more reasonable amount. I mean, it's just so right on where we're seeing the trends, I think, right now with this big new wave. I mean, and inflatables, it took a while for them to get to North America in terms of popularity. Groups tried early. I know there was a brand called Uli here in Southern California that were just in it, I think, a little too early. But the new people in Dana Point Harbor on inflatables that they got during this COVID period, and they're getting hooked, and they're going to want other equipment and going to be looking for things like adventure and expedition. And I think there's more crossover than there's ever been. So making a craft that's 100% both, love that. You've got some great taglines going for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the idea. Absolutely. I think all these folks that are getting involved in the sport, and when they can fit it into their budget to actually, get some quality water sports equipment and get on the water, they are the next generation of enthusiasts, right? So they come in as recreational paddlers. If they have a good experience, then, that does lead them to, I think, future lifelong paddlers. And that's something we talk a lot about that at the ACA, and as far as training instructors for paddleboarding or kayaking, which I've done both of. So
that's right. You're very involved in the ACA too. Mention that for those who don't know.
Yeah, American Canoe Association. I'm an instructor trainer for paddleboarding, and I've also been a whitewater kayak instructor for a long time before that. But I was involved in developing their curriculum, and early on, they really did a nice job of filling a void of really high quality professional instruction for the sport, which, you don't have to go get a lesson, but for the people that do, it does make a big difference. I mean, you see it like when I get people on the water that have never paddled, and then they get this understanding and this foundation that really lets them become, I think, much more likely to be a lifelong paddler and to pursue it further. So that's a really big part of their mission.
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. Really agree with you there. So the SUP industry, and how was it for you in this very strange year at BIC TAHE? And then what do you see for 2021? I mean, it's really hard right now to predict, but.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year. That's like the cliche of the year for sure. Oh, it's been crazy. But our industry, I think most people are aware that everybody got scared, then everybody got, completely scrambled around, like scrambling as hard as they could to get any product out the door because the demand just skyrocketed. And everybody wanted to be outside. Everybody wanted to be socially distant and doing something. They couldn't be in the gym. So yeah, it's been a crazy year. It was really good for us because we now are ending 2020. BIC Sport is coming to an end with zero inventory. So that's a really nice kind of silver lining for us. It's been such a challenging year in so many ways for so many people. And it does feel sometimes you get a little guilty about the fact that the outdoor industry's had this great year. But it is the reality, and you are helping people have fun during this tough time, so that's a nice thing. But yeah, we're in a good position, but we're also in a challenging position because we're starting a year with no base of inventory because we just sold it all. Just like I think most brands have had that similar experience. So yeah, going into 2021, it's going to be a really interesting season to see how it plays out. Whether it plays out, I think some people are like, well, this trend, the vaccine's going to get out there. Everybody's going to want to go back to what they were doing before, and sales aren't going to go as high as people think. And other people are like, well, you've already kind of lit the fire for a lot of people. That's going to fuel more fire, and it's going to keep growing. So to be seen,
Yeah.
But yeah, we're certainly positioned strongly with our partners, and we have great retail partners around the country and around the world. It's a really good year for us. We're implementing locally this year. Locally is a service that lets people on our website find the product they want at their local retailer.
Great.
Not just like, hey, can I find a dealer and then call them and check for the product, but like, no, this dealer has this exact product you want in stock. Here, go get it from them.
Oh, that's wonderful, because we want to support specialty retail, and they have serious challenges right now in all industries, but ours specifically. But we just see them as the place, that really are making connections. So that's great. Love hearing that you're using a service like that, and I'm sure your retailers are happy about it too.
Yeah, we're just getting it rolled out for this year. We have we're redoing our entire website. We have so many projects in the works. It's been a bit of a daunting year. So yeah, but excited about that for sure for the retailers and really for the end consumer. It's great because it's all about just helping them find the product they want, when they want it, where they want it.
Awesome. Well, you have retailers globally, but can you pinpoint maybe a few things that the good retailers are doing? How are they making this, again, strange, crazy year successful? What did you see? Like, who got out there first in handling the chaos of March, April, May, June?
Well, I think, some of them may have been this year. I think whoever had product did really well. If you had product, you were probably pretty happy. And if you didn't have your product, then you were probably bumming and scrambling. And we had people definitely coming to us scrambling, looking for product. It's reflected as well in this year because we have our pre-books are way up where people are pre-ordering, the retailers are pre-ordering the quantities that they think they really need for the new season. And that's important. So the retailers I think the retailers that do the best job, they're the ones that have really supported the local community, whether it be outdoor store or a paddle sport specific store or an action sports store, or whatever it is. They have a strong community, have a strong customer base that trusts them. A lot of times they have their own brand that's really well established. So those are the partners we work with that I think do the best. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So this new year, challenges, opportunities, you've mentioned some of them, but what else is going to be one you said is like, we don't know which direction. I'm an optimist,
Yeah.
so I'm going to choose the second of the two, but
Yeah.
any other challenges or opportunities you see?
Well, I think for water sports in general, it's a huge opportunity because we are in a position where there's this inflection point from 2020 of all these people getting out on the water or getting into the outdoors in general. That exposure is an opportunity for sure that hopefully can be capitalized on in a bigger way and kind of amplified, right? Because when you get all those people involved, if you can somehow capture them and capture their interest and attention and encourage them to pursue these sports long term, that's really going to be a win for the whole paddle sports industry and outdoors in general. So I'm really optimistic as well about that opportunity.
Great.
Yeah.
Optimism is good. We'll hang on to that. For you're global, but how about in North America? Where do you guys have the most sales for BIC TAHE? Where are your hot spots? Any changes?
We're based, our warehouse and office is based in Wareham, Massachusetts, about an hour south of Boston. So we're really unique in the industry in that regard because so many of the brands are based in the West Coast. So for us, the geography of it leads to a really strong market for us in the Northeast. But I would say, the Northeast, the Northwest, the Southeast, those are the three strongest areas. Look at wherever there's population. Really, that's where you're going to find the biggest markets. There's not really a market that I can think of that's maybe the Midwest is a little bit slower, but still pretty good. But I think the Midwest is generally seems to be a little bit behind. For example, adoption of paddleboarding, or whatever, to something new. They're usually a step behind.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, they are seasonal, but they have so many lakes. And
Yep.
in terms of the race scene, they have one of the strongest leagues actually going
Yeah.
with a whole bunch of connected races. So we kind of lost that a bit in Southern California and are trying to get it back. So it's really interesting to see that. Yeah, timing wise, they're a little bit behind, but I would say I'm going to guess that might be a future big market for you.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, time and I think that is partially because it's so seasonal there. But yeah, I mean, once they get going now, like you said, like they're rocking it with the race scene. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I know you're in brand transition, but in general, what's the BIC going to be TAHE kind of breakdown? Are you guys like half recreational and then a bunch of different specialty? Because you do have a wide range of boards, or what's your kind of percentage breakdown in types of stand-up paddle boards?
Well, the range is definitely I guess it depends on which kind of specialty you're talking about. If the type of specialty you're talking about is racing, we do have an inflatable entry level 12.6 by 28. That's a good crossover race board, touring board.
Mhm.
Outside of that, we have our cross boards, which are terrific, versatile all around boards, and they're also great for like specialty if you wanted to do yoga or fitness.
Mhm.
We've had those designs were originally designed together with some of our yoga ambassadors and experts like Julie Roach.
Yeah.
So those boards still are in the line and are great for that type of specialized use. But outside of that, I think the specialization is more like, hey, the SUP yak, that's specialized for someone who's on a budget. They're not sure if they want a kayak or a paddleboard, but they know that they don't want a crappy paddleboard and a crappy kayak. But they'd love it if one product could do both really well. And that's the problem we tried to solve with that product, for example. And to me, that's a specialized product, even though it's more generalized as far as the activities you can do with it. That is, doing that well is not easy. It took a lot of R&D. When you see the product, I don't want to go into the details, but you'll see there's quite a bit of innovation in that product.
Great. Really looking forward to seeing that. So the cross and the all-arounder boards still the majority of your market, like it is?
Yeah. For sales, we are with our Ace Tech and Tough Tech. Those are our two technologies that we manufacture in France, our rigid board technologies. And they continue to perform really well. And inflatables are growing as a category for us. We are certainly seeing that growth. And I think we'll continue to see that with some innovative new inflatable in the new range.
With name changes, will you still call it Ace Tech? Will you call the technology the same?
Yep. Yeah, we have Ace Tech and Tough Tech. The technology information carries forward. So one thing we wanted to do, if you think of it from a marketing perspective and a brand awareness, there's a lot of sub brands within the BIC world, right? Under BIC Sport. So we've got Tough Tech that carries forward, Ace Tech carries forward, Cross carries forward, Performer carries forward. All of our kayak names carry forward. Our windsurf range names carry forward. So the reason we do that is because, there is a lot of, there's a lot of value in those sub brands within the BIC Sport range. And so we're able to people can go, oh, I know the Techno range, or I know the Cross, that's a great board, or they're searching for it and they find a review of the Cross. Oh, you can still get a Cross. And in fact, it is still the same board out of the same mold with different graphics, different branding for sure.
Yeah. So excited to see what that branding looks like. So you've got big plans and you said a lot. I'm sure it's super busy and hectic. That's good and bad. But what would you say are like your three main objectives with TAHE for 2021?
Three main objectives. I think the first one, definitely establishing the brand. That is a heavy lift to establish a new brand. Luckily, we do have some key partners with the brand, both specialty and then, like an REI, who's a great partner of ours, has been with BIC. West Marine, they'll be carrying the SUP yak, and so will REI. So, having those great partners, that is a great benefit for us, because that certainly helps get the word out about the brand and about the products. So that would be objective number one. And I think number two is just getting our infrastructure in place and ensuring we have, our supply chain is secure and that we can really provide the product and know that we're going to deliver on time and have the product. And then the third is just our digital infrastructure, and just having all of our digital properties, like our website, our back end of our website, our ERP, which is the back end software that runs the whole company, the platform we're on. All these things are critical to making sure that we can run the business and support our retailers and function as a good partner for all of them.
Yeah. Hey, before we leave, I just want to clarify one thing, unless I got it wrong. Somebody thought you were leaving on January 1st, but you're not leaving. There's just a transition in name, right? They're going to keep you.
Yes. I'm not going anywhere. The brand is. I'm outlasting BIC. So no, still, I'm still involved. You know, I didn't mention, I mean, my official role actually for 10 years has been product and marketing manager. And also now the manager of our digital side with e-commerce and our website. But I've had a lot of, hey, thanks, Super Lola. But yeah, I mean, you know, now with Tahe, I'm also doing more product development. I've always been involved in the product development, so that'll carry forward. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think it's a great brand. Already, you know, we've just started, and we'll be able to carry over the best of BIC and the best of Tahe Outdoors. And you know, I'm really stoked on the future. I think we just have a great opportunity to really run with this brand. And, you know, nicely that it's also coinciding nicely with SIC Maui, because really we are, you know, sister brands for sure.
And that's, yeah. And like you said, it completes the range and gives you even more. And we're excited to have you, you know, growing and changing too, because, you know, we had kind of that exponential crazy growth and some leveling and lost some people. And I've never, stand-up paddling never went anywhere for me, but you know, there was that kind of talk and everything. But now we have this wave of new paddlers out there, which is really, I think, fueling the fires and getting people excited again who maybe were a little flat on it. So excited for you guys and your future, and you and your extended position. Is there a name for all that? That's a really long job title.
No, I've worn so many hats at the company. At this point, I've given up asking them to try and give me some sort of title that would be concise. So I'm just like, okay, well, it's been that way for 10 years. It's going to be that way going forward. I'm not too worried.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Jimmy, we're so lucky to have you in the industry, and best of luck with the new changes. It was so cool to hear, and we'll post some links so everybody can check out your new website, you know, as they come up, the new, you know, videos or anything that you already have. It sounded like maybe you have an overview one already. Excited to see that. And
yeah, I'll send tahesport.com. You can go there now and check out some of the content that we have there now. The new website's going to launch middle of January. So the full website with all the new products that are in that catalog you can download, that'll all be live. I will definitely post a couple links to some videos in the Facebook group. So yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, and you know,
it's great.
thanks for what you're doing too, and for continuing to, you know, keep the stand-up paddle you know, community growing and vibrant and informed. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
We have an awesome community, don't we? And
Definitely.
It's cool that it's growing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy. And thank you everyone who's listening. Remember, we do have a Facebook group kind of for follow-up, since we can't do everything on an Instagram interview. That's where we'll post any links, maybe some more pictures, because he has some great ones. So keep surfing, keep paddling, and keep doing the great job that you're doing as Tahe. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining, everybody. See you.